Did Paul McCartney die in 1966? Fact or hoax? I must admit, when I recently heard about this, my sceptical alarm bells went crazy. But after doing some research, there does seem to be something in this. I've tried to give a balanced view, and I hope you'll keep an open mind and watch the whole video before making your mind up and commenting. There's been a rumour circulating for many years that Paul McCartney, formerly of the Beatles, died in a car crash on Wednesday the 9th of November 1966 at approximately 5 AM. The alleged accident was supposed to have occurred after Paul stormed out of a recording session following a row with the other Beatle members. The story continues that he gave a woman by the name of Rita a lift in his car, and both were killed when his car jumped a red traffic light. Paul allegedly suffered massive head trauma or decapitation. It's amazing how often parts of the allegations start to appear both in visual clues and on their albums and in the lyrics of the Fab Four or Fab 3+1 after the alleged incident. For example, the day, Wednesday, the date, 9 or 9th, month, 11, 11th, time, 5 AM, and references to morning. The number 3 or numbers that are up to 3 remaining Beatles, and death. The first thing I tried to do was disprove the allegation, and so I found two pictures of Paul, one from circa 1966 and another from circa 1969. In the 1966 photo, Paul has black hair and brown eyes. In the 1969 photo, he has brown hair and green or hazel eyes. I lined the photos up on the eyes, nose and mouth for scowl, then traced hit points onto the 1966 photo around Paul's eyes, eyebrows, nose, mouth, chin and ears. As I fade the 1966 photo out, watch how all the hit points line up apart from the ears. It is a fact that our ears do grow into adulthood and later life, but this looks different as the width of the head has changed as well. Maybe there was something in this after all, so I kept digging as there are so many ways to fake photos, etc. I remain sceptical because apart from anything else, the police, health service, the coroner, the authorities, the media and possibly government departments would have had to been involved with this alleged cover-up, as you can't just have an accident and bury or cremate someone as famous as Paul McCartney. Not only that, but the families, friends, the record company and the remaining Beatles would all have had to go along with this, and sooner or later someone would have said something. The more I dug, the more it seemed that people have actually been saying things, including the remaining Beatles. According to one source, Paul had dreamt of his death approximately 18 months before the alleged incident, where he saw himself given a lift to a woman with a suitcase and a car accident with something striking him on the head. Paul had many vivid dreams. The tune for his song Yesterday apparently came to him in a dream in May 1965. Although he didn't add the lyrics till a few days later, the song is thought to be about not only his death dream, but also his mother, who he also dreamt about. Yesterday, I'm Down, and I've Just Seen a Face were all recorded in the same session and are all thought to be about that dream. Check out the lyrics for these songs. The dream was really starting to haunt Paul and made worse because John thought it was funny, noted in the lyrics of I'm Down, and Paul's father, who didn't believe him. John also had a meaningful dream of his mother, Julia, which he later wrote a song about. In another dream, Paul is supposed to have seen Brian Epstein showing John a photograph and John laughing. It is unknown what was in the photograph, but it is referred to in A Day in the Life from the Abbey Road album, before the lines, "He blew his mind out in a car, he hadn't noticed that the lights had changed." So many people have made the connection that this is Brian giving John photographic evidence of Paul's death. The alleged incident may also have been the basis for the song Maxwell's Silver Hammer. Paul had supposedly made plans for someone, who he had also seen in a dream, to continue in the band as his replacement. Without saying the reason, it is thought that an advert was placed in a popular music magazine for a lookalike competition in the hope of recognising his future replacement. The alleged winner was a Keith Allison, but this was not the person who Paul had seen in his dreams. Who could they have got to replace someone who both looked and sounded like Paul? The person whose name kept cropping up during my research was the William Campbell Shears, or Billy Shears. Billy Shears had a band during the 1960s called Billy Pepper and the Pepper Pots, who by chance used to cover some of the Beatles songs in the Cavern in Liverpool, and according to some, sounded like and bore a striking resemblance to Paul. The first album of new material after the alleged accident was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, released on the 1st of June 1967, and Billy Shears' name appears in the lyrics at the end of the very first song on the album. Much significance has been placed on the title of the album, which carried the same name as a band that was already playing Beatles songs and a lead singer who looked and sounded remarkably like Paul. Where the remaining three tried to say that they were no longer the Beatles as their fans knew them. For example, I Don't Really Want to Stop the Show. Was this Lennon's way of saying that he didn't want to or regretted going along with the cover-up? That the singer's going to sing a song and he wants you all to sing along. The interpretation for this is obvious in the context of a fake Paul, or in other words, we're having to play along with this. Possibly the most noticeable line from the verse, and again in context, is, "So let me introduce to you the one and only Billy Shears and Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band," as though they really is a new band member. I found interviews from before the album was released where Paul said the Beatles liked the idea of some weird and wacky band names that had emerged around that time, such as the Bonzo Dog Doodah Band, etc. They also liked the idea of an alter ego type band that is the inspiration for Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. However, the more sceptical are saying that the original remaining three wanted everyone to know that this was no longer the true Beatles. The speculation is fueled by questions such as, if this was a new band, why would you only introduce one of the four band members? If Billy Shears was a made-up name for one of the band members, why not introduce John, George and Ringo under different names as well? Lennon was known to have been somewhere between amused and mildly irritated that some people were analysing his every lyric at this time. While some fans believed the Fab Four were just being mischievous about leaving hidden meanings in everything they did, many people think that the alleged 3 surviving band members were now trying to leave clues about what had happened, not only in the lyrics but also visual clues on the album covers. Even by their own admission, when they were regularly on drug-induced highs at this time, would they really have gone to such macabre and sick lengths as to create songs and leave visual clues suggesting that Paul had been beheaded? Before we continue to look at the lyrics, let's look at the album cover, as so much has been made of its design. The scene appears to be set at a funeral with a newly cut grave and mourners. There are red flowers that have been interpreted as a floral wreath, which spell Beatles, in much the same way as someone would have honoured the person in the grave, such as Mum or Dad. There are various other flowers and plants, including marijuana plants, or a very good imitation of marijuana plants, on there too. In between the letters L and E is thought to be Paul's Rugby Trophy. The position of the trophy has significance, as if looked at quickly, it could be mistaken for the letter I, forming beat lies or beat lies. If a trophy had been placed almost anywhere else in the set, it would have been symbolically meaningless. Where it is situated, it just adds to the speculation. Below the floral wreath is another wreath of yellow hyacinths in the shape of a left-handed bass guitar, the instrument Paul played, but this one, symbolically, only has 3 strings visible instead of 4. Some say it has been laid out in a way that also spells Paul, but may have been disguised too well as it's hard to see. The position of the bass wreath is also significant as it's situated directly below lies, which can be interpreted as Paul lies, or the new Paul is a lie if read from the bottom, or lies Paul, Paul lays here if read from the top. We will now turn our attention to the drum in the middle of the picture. On first inspection, there doesn't appear to be anything significant about this. Sgt. Pepper's, club band and a floral design around the outside with lonely hearts in the middle. However, if you take a mirror or use the back of a CD and place it in the middle of the words lonely hearts, you'll see it now resembles 1, 1, 1, X, he, arrow, die. Notice that the arrow is pointing up at Paul. One, 1, 1, X, he, die. Also notice that this spells 2 things. The date of the alleged accident, 11/9, if it is read as Roman numerals in the American date format, and also 111X, or in other words, 1 and 1 and 1 is the 3 remaining Beatles, and the X represents Paul as being missing. 1 and 1 and 1 is 3 is also a lyric from Come Together from the Abbey Road album. The designer of the drumhead is listed as Frederick Joe Fgrave. The conspiracy theorists are saying that this was a made-up name and continues with the theme of death. Fgrave, epitaph, grave, and he did not exist. There is very little evidence about him, but there is a reference to him working on the set for the film Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, but his name does not appear in the credits. One of the most noticeable items on the set, which didn't make any sense to me, were the extra red flowers before and after the word Beatles. There is what appears to be some sort of squiggle before the B and an O at the end of the wreath. It seemed odd, meaningless and completely out of context. That was until I continued using the mirror, but this time diagonally from top right to bottom left. The O, together with the reflection of the S, makes a phallic symbol, and the two female rag dolls are young girls, with the other two female dolls being their mothers. This now makes perfect sense, as Paul was alleged to have had a baby girl by Erica Hubers in Germany, and also another baby girl by Monique Devalier, a makeup artist from Paris. Devalier allegedly sent Paul a picture of their daughter Michelle when she was approximately 5 years old, and is thought to be the inspiration for the song Michelle. According to one source, Paul didn't have any time in his busy life for her, and he hoped she would understand one day. Check out the lyrics for this song. The squiggle of red flowers before the B takes on new significance if we use the mirror again, as it now forms the image of a severed head. One of the figures that was part of the set, but is obscure behind Paul and George, is Mary Queen of Scots, who coincidentally was also beheaded. The phallic symbol also resembles a headless figure and is pointing somewhere near to where the 11 would be on a clock face, with the Dinah Dawes images making both hands of a 9 o'clock. Just to the right of the Shirley Temple ragdoll is a bloody driving glove. The symbolism continues with the figures on the far left and far right. On the left is Sonny Liston, a boxer, and on the right is Dinah Dawes. If we make a play on words with these two figures, we have a boxer, box, coffin on one side, and a Dawes, door to the afterlife, on the other. If you think that is a stretch, place a mirror by the side of Dinah Dawes to reveal a black hole, possibly a portal to the afterlife, a headless figure going into the portal, and an SOS, almost, underneath. The image is also thought to be the inspiration for I Am the Walrus from the Magical Mystery Tour album. The image could be interpreted as the two doors open into the abyss or afterlife. The afterlife theme continues as we look how ghostly Shirley Temple appears next to Dinah Dawes. Shirley Temple is the only image used 3 times in the set, the second as a seated doll and the other appearing just behind the waxwork Beatles. Sonny Liston is one of only 3 sportsmen featured on the cover. Out of all the great sportsmen and athletes, why put on the cover a boxer who had been accused of throwing a fight a year or so before, and why put him in such a prominent position? Was his inclusion symbolism of the continued theme of something false or fake, as in the waxwork models in the set? Also, was it that his first fight with Muhammad Ali was the first time Ali had boxed since changing his name from Cassius Clay, in the same way as this was the first album where Billy Shears had replaced Paul? If we use the mirror again, notice how Sonny Liston now resembles a priest and also appears to be floating. The switched off TV symbolises the media blackout over the subject. Subtract the letter U from Paul and add the initials of his surname and we have palm. At the back of the right side is a fake palm, symbolising a fake Paul. There are 4 palms and a fake palm on the set. This again didn't make much sense to me, as I would have expected 3 palms and a fake one if they were going to carry on with a theme of 3. So I looked at the 5th psalm, 5 palms. Check out the 5th psalm and see how many of the lines do you think could have meaning in the context of Paul's alleged death, his place in heaven, and a cover-up. Under the letter T of Beetles is a small statue of the Eastern goddess Lakshmi. She features in many Eastern cultures who she represents in different ways, including self-knowledge and spiritual liberation. Her name is derived from the Sanskrit root words for knowing the goal and understanding the objective. In Sanskrit, she represents those who want to perceive, observe, know and understand. The abode of Lakshmi Narayan could be interpreted as heaven in Vaishnavism. Theorists believe that her symbolism to know, to understand, to observe and to perceive is very poignant and another clue in the context of a cover-up. Compare how much taller Paul is to John, both as waxworks, approximately the same, and then in a centrepiece. Notice how Ringo and George are wearing hats and John is not, in order to try and cover up the noticeable difference in height. One of the early Beatles magazines gave John, Paul and George as all being 5'11", but now look how much taller the alleged new Paul is. This also may be another reason why Paul is walking barefoot on the cover of Abbey Road. The last clue I'd like to mention is the hand over the head of Paul. The hand belongs to Izzy Bonn, who appeared in a 1939 film called Discoveries. The film was about someone who brought new talent to the screen. There are many references of symbolism for this gesture, from religious significance regarding death to someone being highlighted, and again it is to do with Paul. This goes way beyond just being a few coincidences, and obviously this was a very well thought out image. The designers of the cover, Jan Horwath and Peter Blake, would have had to have had some kind of instruction of what the band wanted, but maybe were never told the true reasons for it. The skeptics say there was probably little involvement from any designers, as both John and George were very artistic and creative and could easily have done this themselves. As with the design of the drumhead, maybe the band wanted someone else to blame if the authorities thought the band were giving too many clues. Others say the design gives the remaining 3 a perfect excuse to say we were trying to tell the fans all along about Paul, just in case the fans turned on them if the truth ever came out. That is the end of part 1. Part 2 looks at the hidden messages within the lyrics from Sgt. Pepper's subsequent albums and other revelations, including why the alleged incident has been kept secret for so long. So please make sure you take advantage of the free subscription and subscribe to this channel for up-to-the-minute new releases. Thank you for watching.